Hello everybody, today we are going to discuss The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. So one of the most popular plays by William Shakespeare. It's a romantic comedy and this has also been called tragi-comedy because it's a mix of tragedy and comedy. Tragedy for Shylock and comedy for others. So that's why it has also been called tragi-comedy. And in this video I'm going to discuss this play in detail, telling you each and everything which is important, which you must know, including the kind of questions which are generally asked from this play. So I'll cover all those questions as well, and along with that I'll add some objective questions at the end so that you'll be able to answer those questions asked in competitive exams on Merchant of Venice. So in this way it's going to be a comprehensive one for you. I'll cover each and every aspect of this play and hope you'll enjoy this play because this is, as I said, it's a romantic comedy. So it involves all the characteristics of romantic comedy. There is love in the air, there is, we can say, some sort of adventure, some thrill as well. So all the things are there in this play, and it has worked out really very well for the readers as well. So first I'll tell you that why this title Merchant of Venice. So I'll begin with this. So Merchant of Venice because the whole story revolves around a character named Antonio, who is actually the Merchant of Venice. Though he is a passive character, he has been portrayed as a very, we can say, a very numb type of character who is not very dominant, not very active. Yet the thread of Antonio goes through the entire play and everything is connected to this character. The whole story actually based on this. So that's why this is Merchant of Venice. Now Shakespeare also thought of naming it Jew of Venice because Shylock is a very important and dominant character in this play, but he later on didn't give this title. The reason was he wanted this to be a comedy and not a tragedy. And second thing, in the fifth act there is no mention of Shylock. The role of Shylock gets over by the fourth act. So that's why then finally, as one, he didn't want it to be a tragedy. He wanted it to be a comedy, a romantic comedy. So that's why he thought of not giving this title to this play. And Merchant of Venice, moreover, this Antonio, the character of Antonio or the thread of Antonio goes till the end of the play, till even the last act, the fifth act. So that's why he thought it suitable to name it Merchant of Venice. So that's why this title, Merchant of Venice. Now let's see the characters in this play. We'll discuss them one by one and I'll tell you a bit about these characters. So first, of course, it is Antonio, and Antonio is the Merchant of Venice. He is the character about whom I was talking earlier, and he is a trader, a merchant, and he has ships. So his ships actually carry different articles and things, commodities, and he trades on them, with them. So at this time when the play begins, actually his ships are in the sea, and he is a very gentle-hearted person, a kind-hearted person, a very sympathetic person. He helps others who are in debt or who need money. He offer them money, and that too without any interest, and in that way he has brought down the business of many people there because he lends money without any interest. So he is such a man who is ready to help and even there quite a respectable sort of person who is loved and venerated by all there in Venice. So is a good character, a good person. Overall his character is very good, but he is not very dominant. He is not a very dominant character. He is a passive character, remains dull all through the play, and he doesn't have any specific role in the play, any I should say any dominant or lead role in the play. So this is how the character of Antonio has been brought out or portrayed in this play. Now second we have Bassanio. So Bassanio is Antonio's friend, and he is actually a spendthrift, a noble man, but we don't find any nobility about him in the beginning. He is a man who is a happy-go-lucky sort of person. He enjoys his life, he spends all his money, he is in debt, he has borrowed money from Antonio a lot of times, and he was unable to repay that money, and now he is totally in debt and he has nothing, no money with himself. So he lives such a kind of life, and there is no nobility we find about him in the beginning part of the play. But he wants to marry Portia, and he wants to go to Belmont to woo her and have her hand in marriage and all that. In the later part we see that his love for Antonio as well, and his noble behavior as well, that has been brought out in the later part of the play. So next here we have Graciano. Now the role of Bassanio is really important, but not as important as the role of Portia and Shylock. These two characters stand very dominant in this play. So I'll tell about them as well. Now here I have written about Graciano. And Graciano is a merry sort of person, a very we can say who enjoys time, enjoys the company of his friends, and is a fun-loving person, always makes fun of himself and others, and just lets people enjoy and laugh. So he indulges in lots of mirth and merrymaking and laughter. He is such a person. He lives in the moment and loves to enjoy the moment in life. So he is that sort of person. And then we have two other friends as well. Now here I should tell you about the pairs. Now Bassanio makes a pair with Portia, and Graciano makes a pair with Narisa. Now who are these two characters? So as I told you, the dominant character in this play is Portia. So Portia is actually a rich heiress of Belmont. Yes, that is the place where she is. Belmont. Her father has left the whole kingdom and a lot of wealth for her, and she is the only heiress, and moreover her father has left a will for her, and in that will, according to that will, she can marry only the person who would choose the right casket in which her portrait is laid, and in that way only she could be married, and that person would have her in marriage, and of course after that the wealth and everything, the kingdom would be his. So that is how the will is. And after that, here the Narisa. So Narisa is her attendant, her servant, a maid there, but she has been portrayed as a good character, more a companion than just a maid or a servant. So she has been brought out in that manner. She has been given, this character also has been given some dignity and some stature here. And then here we have Salario and Selenio. These are, we can say, two cardboard figures or characters, means they are not of much importance here in this play. They also are the group of these friends. It means they come under the group of Antonio's friends. So in total we have Antonio, Bassanio, Graciano, Salario and Selenio. These are the 5 friends, and then we have one more character. As I said, these are minor characters and they are not very important. They vehemently and very strongly express their love for Antonio and make vehement claims about that and express themselves quite strongly. That is the only role. Moreover, it is like when later in the trial scene and all, there too they express themselves quite strongly and such. So the role of these two characters is simply to provide the company, and this in the opening scene they come as having a talk with Antonio. So that is the only role of these two characters. And now we have Lorenzo. And here we have another pair, and that is Lorenzo and Jessica. Lorenzo and Jessica. So Lorenzo is also Antonio's friend, Antonio Bassanio's friend, and among that group, and he loves Portia, and Portia is the daughter of he loves Jessica, and Jessica is the daughter of Shylock, the Jew. Shylock is the Jew, and he too is a merchant. He is a usurer and he lends money on interest to others, and he is very shrewd sort of person, a very miser sort of person, doesn't treat his servant and others in a good manner, but he too is not treated very well by the Christians. So this play brings out we can say anti-Semitic tones here. That is, in those times actually Jews were not treated very well by the Christians. They were treated very badly. They were snubbed publicly, insulted publicly, even beaten and all such things. So happened to Shylock as well. So he hated the Christians as they hated him. He too hated those Christians. So that's how his character comes out, but it's a very strong character in this play. Now we have Tubal. Tubal is Shylock's friend, who actually reports about his elopement of his daughter Jessica with Lorenzo, and also tells him about Antonio's ships being lost in the sea. So he is such a character. And now we have a fool, that is Lancelot Gobbo. So we have Lancelot Gobbo, a minor character. Old Gobbo, his father. Then we have Dr. Bellario. So Dr. Bellario is the doctor of law and Portia's cousin. Then we have Balthazar. Balthazar is Portia's servant. So, and also the Duke. So Duke's role come in the end when the trial scene happens, and then there the Duke has to judge the case and do the justice. So it's there we have the role of this Duke. Now apart from all these characters, now the role of Lancelot Gobbo, Old Gobbo, the roles of all these characters, these are minor characters and their role is very small in the play, but yes, they too play some significant role, and without them the play cannot be a complete one, a perfect one. So I'll tell you about the role of these characters as well, that what significant role they play actually here in this drama. Now I'll tell you about the suitors. So there were some suitors who comes to woo Portia, who comes to seek her hand in marriage, but they were not successful except Bassanio. Only Bassanio was successful and the others could not. So the suitors were, there was a Neapolitan prince. So about this prince, Portia says that he talks nothing but about his horse. He can even shoe the horse and such. He talks nothing else. He only talks about his horse and he is proud of that. So that's what she says about Neapolitan prince. And now who would marry such a person? Then there is Palatine Count. So this Palatine Count is always sorrowful, always sad, always frowning. So not a person to be married, not a kind of suitor whom she could marry. Then we have French lord. Now she couldn't marry this French lord because she doesn't like him as well. Okay, and then we have English baron. So this English baron is good looking, is handsome, but the problem is he doesn't know any other language except English. He doesn't know Italian, he doesn't know French, he doesn't know German. So how to converse with him, that is a problem, and that's why Portia doesn't want to marry him as well. Then we have Scottish prince. Now the Scottish prince is what he runs away from the field, from the battlefield, and he has taken lots of loans from other people, and he is always unable to pay the debt. So he is such a kind of person. Portia doesn't want him as well. And so these were some of the characters who come to woo Portia. And about that one character, she says, was always, all the time, that is actually Duke of Saxony, nephew. There is one more, this Duke of Saxony's nephew. She talks about this person as well, and she is not at all willing to marry him as well, but actually she is quite helpless, that she cannot reject a person whom she dislikes, or she cannot say marry a person whom she likes. So that is the kind of problem she is caught within. And one of the lord is such who is always drunk, and she says that he is vile. About the French lord, actually, she says that okay, let's call him man because God made him, so we can pass him as a man because God has made him. Otherwise, there is nothing like man in him. That's what she says about him. One lord, she says that he is vile when he is sober, and when he is drunk he is more vile. So he is worse than a man and little better than a beast. So such a person, so how could she marry all these people? That's what. And she feels really quite relaxed and happy when she gets rid of these people. But in actuality, the important role comes when with the three suitors. One is the Prince of Morocco, the other is Prince of Aragon, and the third one is Bassanio, whom she finally marries. So these were the three main suitors among all these. Now, and so I'll tell you a bit about these characters as well. One is Prince of Morocco, the other is Prince of Aragon, and third one is Bassanio. So when Prince of Morocco comes, he is quite arrogant and quite say boisterous about himself. He is quite like a self-proclaimed kind of lover and suitor for Portia, quite proud and make proud claims about himself. First he says that don't reject me because of my complexion, because he was actually dark complexioned. He is proud of that even, and he says that I won't change my complexion because of anything in this world. He is quite proud of that. He is proud of his heritage and lineage, African. He is of African lineage and legacy. So he is proud of that, and he is quite impatient as well, and he wants to go and at once choose the caskets, but Portia asks him to wait and offer his prayers, and then he should go for choosing the casket. So when he goes to choose the casket, he chooses actually the gold one. So there are three caskets. One is gold one, the other is silver one, and the third one is lead one. So there are some inscriptions there, and it is like on gold it is who chooseth me shall get what many men desire. On silver casket it is who chooseth me shall get what he deserves. And on lead casket it is who chooseth me shall risk and put in danger everything that he hath. So these are the inscriptions there on these caskets, and these people have to choose. So Prince of Morocco actually chose the golden one, and because he thought of himself as a very of belonging to a very high family, and he even boasts that I am the most courageous one and the most beautiful of our land wants to marry me, and all such things, all such claims he makes about himself. And he chose a gold one, that he feels that because he is the noblest of man there, so he should get what is the most noble, and only in golden one Portia's portrait could be, because she is a gem, so only in golden one her portrait could be there. But when he opens that casket, he finds what a skull, and in one eye socket of that there was a scroll which had an inscription, or which had this thing, that all that glitters is not gold. So this is what we get from this. And then there comes Prince of Aragon. He too makes high claims, and finally he chooseth what? The silver casket. And in that silver casket a fool's picture was there with an eye blinking, so such a picture was there, and he feels very bad about that this is what he actually deserves. Is it so? And he also returns from there. So this is what happens to these two princes. But then the next one was Bassanio, who finally chooses the right casket. Now how the story begins, so now let me come to the actual story and let's proceed in that way. So so the opening scene is Antonio and his other friends are there. So Antonio is quite sad, quite gloomy, and his friend Salario, they ask the reason of his sadness, that why are you so sad, what is the reason? So is it that your ships are in the sea and they may be lost and they may drown and flounder, so is that the reason? He says that I don't know the reason of my sadness, that why perhaps it's my general demeanor or general temperament, perhaps that's what he says. He doesn't know the reason of his sadness. Then there are other characters as well, Graciano and Bassanio. So all these people are talking and they say that is it love that makes you sad, that you are in love and because of that you feel so sad, and but he has no answer to that as well. He says I don't know the reason of my sadness and all. And later what happens, these friends actually, and here he makes a statement as well, I consider this world to be a stage and we are to play different roles in that. We are the characters, and at present my role is of a sad person, a gloomy person. That's what he says about his temperament at that time. So okay, they all go back. Only Bassanio was there, and Bassanio tells Antonio that actually I am in need of some money. I want to go to Belmont and I want to woo Portia there. So Bassanio had already borrowed money from Antonio a lot of times, and he was unable to repay all that. But this time he says that I am sure, I am quite confident that I will be able to repay what I had borrowed from you earlier as well, and the money that I am going to borrow now as well. So I'll be able to repay all that money if you pay me this time. So but Antonio doesn't have any ready cash or ready money with him, because he had invested all his money on the ships which are in the sea. So he is unable to pay him at that time, unable to help him at that time. So he says, okay, let's go into the market and see or check that what you can get on my credit. Now Shylock here comes, and Shylock is a lender, he is a Jew, and there's nobody else who can help them at that time. So they go to Shylock, and Shylock actually hates these people, especially these Christians, because they don't behave well with him. They actually treat him very badly, they snub him, they kick him, they spit on him, they do all sort of misbehavior to Shylock and all the Jews. Moreover, actually, as I told you, there is an anti-Semitic thread in this play, because in those times it was about Shakespearean period, Elizabethan period. So in those times, Christians hated Jews and they considered very meanly or lowly of these people. And moreover, actually these Jews, they lent money on rent, which was considered to be a bad practice according to Bible in those times. So that's why they hated, but they had no other option at that time. So these Antonio and Bassanio, they went to Shylock, and Shylock at first though was not ready to lend them money, but then he said, okay, I'll lend you, and he asked how much. They wanted 3,000 ducats. So this was the amount. They wanted 3,000 ducats, and that too for 3 months. So okay, he agreed to that okay, I'll pay you, but then he wanted a bond to be signed, and the bond was, if Antonio is unable to pay the amount within that period in 3 months, then he would cut a pound of flesh from his body. So this was the bond, this was the agreement, and he wanted Antonio to sign that bond, and he said it is just for fun, nothing else. He doesn't mean it really, this is just for fun, and moreover you will be able to return the amount, so what's the problem in that? So Bassanio at that time, he doesn't want him to sign the bond, but actually he wanted money as well badly, and Antonio says, don't worry, I'll be able to pay him even before the time. My ships would be back 1 month before this actual time. So he agreed to that condition and he signed the bond. And this is where we have the bond story. So I'll tell you that there are different stories in this play, and one of those stories is the bond story. And all these stories are very important. So bond story, then we have caskets story, then we have trial story or trial scene, and finally we have ring episode or ring story. And we can have separate questions on the importance of these stories or these scenes, and they are quite significant in this play. So I was talking of the first act, and in the first act all these happen. The opening scene was Antonio and the other friends meeting, Bassanio asking money to go to Belmont, to Portia, and then they go out in the market and ask for some money from Shylock, the Jew, the usurer. So okay, it was all agreed, the bond was ready, and it was that if he forfeited the bond, then he would take 1 pound of flesh from his body. So it was all done. So money was given to Bassanio, and with that money Bassanio departed for Belmont. But before that, some other things happen in the play, and here comes the role of say Lancelot Gobbo and Old Gobbo and Jessica and Graciano. These characters also come in. So after having money, Bassanio asked this Shylock to come to the feast. That before going he was offering a feast, so he invites him as well. Okay, he agrees to go to that, and there was going to be a masquerade as well in the evening. So now Shylock is, though Shylock hated these people very well, because he said that I can do anything with you, but I won't eat with you, and I won't deal with you and all that. So but finally he was ready to pay the money to them and all that. That was all done. Now Shylock comes home. There he has Launcelot Gobbo. Launcelot Gobbo is his servant and he acts as a fool in this play. Shylock doesn't treat him well. He doesn't give him enough or sufficient to eat, and always like they feel it all hellish there, Launcelot and his daughter as well. Now the Jessica doesn't have her mother, only daughter and father live there with that servant Launcelot Gobbo. Now in the meantime, what happened that Launcelot Gobbo's father, old Gobbo, comes to give him something which he actually brings from his home. Now he is blind and he is not able to see Launcelot Gobbo, and Gobbo we have a foolish kind of, we have some foolery here, that he plays with his father and father is unable to see him. He just befools, tries, makes some sort of fun there. He just befools his father himself, and finally he accepts that he is his son, and he accepts the gift from his father as well. So such a kind of scene has been presented, and it's only to make the atmosphere light and to relieve the tension there. So this is the only job of this character here. Moreover, he actually is important for us to introduce the character of Shylock in a clearer manner, and also to tell us something about Jessica as well. So Jessica also is quite oppressed in her, feels quite oppressed in her father's house, and she doesn't like the atmosphere there. There is no freedom at all. Actually, when Shylock goes out to attend the masquerade and the feast, he asks Jessica to close the doors and remain indoors and don't go out, and don't even open the windows and look out when the masquerade passes their house. So that's what he asked Jessica to do. And before this, actually, Launcelot Gobbo leaves the service of Shylock and joins Bassanio, and requests Bassanio to be his master, to have him in his as his servant. And Bassanio actually melts at his request and takes him as his servant, and takes him along with him to Belmont as well. So he was that kind and generous and large-hearted, and he accepts him as his servant. Now here, what was Lorenzo and Jessica's plan? So Lorenzo makes a plan that when this masquerade goes, so Jessica would disguise herself as a boy and would act as Lorenzo's torchbearer. So that was the plan. So okay, Jessica gets ready, she disguises herself as a boy, and when the masquerade comes there, she just goes out of the house and acts as a torch bearer for Lorenzo. Moreover, she also takes all the money she could and the jewelry she could along with her, and hands all that over to Lorenzo. So in that way, all that happens. Finally, they were on the ship with Bassanio to Belmont, and she had taken all the money and jewelry with her, and the plan was successful. It worked very well. Later on, when he comes to know, Shylock actually comes to know, he becomes sort of mad, and he runs in the streets of Venice just crying that my daughter, my ducats, my jewelry, she has taken all my jewelry, she has taken all my money. So he just runs about wildly and madly, just shouting and calling names and all. So all this happens after that. Now here, after all this, they reach Belmont, and there they were welcomed. Bassanio was now before leaving or before reaching Belmont, Bassanio tells Graciano to behave himself, because as I said, he was a fun-loving person, always indulging in mirth and merrymaking and laughter. So he just cautioned and warned him that you behave yourself decently there and should control yourself, and otherwise I won't take you along with me. And he followed what Bassanio said and he acted very decently there. Bassanio was welcomed very warmly at Portia's palace. Music was played when he came, and she loved him very much. She liked him. He was very handsome, good looking, and she just in first sight actually felt that yes, Bassanio was for him, and she didn't want to lose him, so she requests Bassanio to stay for a day or two before making the choice. But Bassanio said no, he would definitely go for the caskets and he would make the choice. Why should it be delayed when finally it was to be done? So okay, he chose the lead casket because the other two I told you already. There was a condition actually, and what was the condition? As I already told you, that Portia's father in his will had written that only the one who would choose the right casket having Portia's portrait will be Portia's husband. She will be given to that person, she will be married over to that person, and those who choose the wrong casket would not reveal the secret that what or which casket they chose, and then would not court any other woman in their life. So that was the condition. So the Prince of Morocco and Prince of Aragon, they went empty-handed. Now it was Bassanio's chance, and Bassanio chose the lead casket because he thought that in love he should risk everything that he has, and that would be the right thing to choose. So when he chose the lead casket, that was the right one, and it held Portia's portrait, a very beautiful portrait actually, and finally of course they were to marry. Now there Graciano and Narisa also came in close contact with each other, and they started courting and loving actually each other. So of course they also wanted to be married, and they sought this permission as well. But actually what happened when all this happened, so there came a message from Antonio that he couldn't pay the money to Shylock within time. He has forfeited the bond, and now Shylock is going to have his 1 pound flesh as written in the bond. So he wanted Bassanio to come over to Venice and meet him before all that happened. So Bassanio tells all this to Portia about his friend and how actually he helped him a lot, and he helped him with money to come over to Portia and all that. So Portia tells him that okay, you should go back to your friend and help him in this time of need. And okay, so Bassanio takes some money, and with his friend Graciano he leaves Belmont and comes over to Venice. Now there Shylock was ready to take 1 pound flesh, and before this what happens, one more thing happens here in Belmont. When they leave, after that Portia and Narisa, so they too also leave, leaving the palace in the hands of or under the supervision of Lorenzo and Jessica. She asks them to manage the palace well in their absence, and she tells them that they are going to a convent because in the absence of Bassanio and this Graciano, they would like to pass their days in praying and fasting in a convent. So they were leaving for a convent and saying that they leave. Now she, before that, she instructs her servant Balthazar as well that he should go to Padua. So Padua is the place where her cousin is, and he is a doctor of law, Bellario. So he sent a letter to Dr. Bellario, her cousin, and told Balthazar to give that letter to her cousin and bring all the things whatever he gives over to him, and hand them over to them to Portia and Narisa at a certain place, meet them there. So okay, he goes over to Padua and brings some certain dress and some document to Portia, hands all that over to Portia, and then disguising them. Actually, it was an order which would allow Portia to be a lawyer and Narisa her clerk. So they disguise themselves as boys and then they leave for Venice. Now here they come to court when actually Antonio had nothing to say, nothing to defend himself. So this was the time when these two lawyers, actually Portia and Narisa, enters, and then they plead for Antonio. So they submit the paper from Dr. Bellario, and they ask the Duke, actually, who was to oversee the whole matter. First, Duke actually pleaded Shylock not to be so cruel and show some mercy, but Shylock was not at all he didn't agree to that. He said, how I was treated and I want to take revenge now, because see, I am like these people as well, that if I am also a human being, and he offers several arguments at that time that I too a human being, am I not, won't I bleed if I am hurt, won't I be hurt if I am insulted and all. So he offers so many arguments there, say that how I was treated, and now actually I want revenge and I won't budge. So Duke's plea for mercy fails. Antonio's plea, Bassanio is even ready to pay him double the amount, even triple the amount of what he actually had mentioned in the bond, but he refuses all that. Even Portia pleads with him and says that he should show mercy. And here we have a most popular statement from this play, and that is, the quality of mercy is not strained. It is quite natural to everyone, and one who shows mercy is benefited, and one who gets mercy or is shown mercy is also benefited. It is God's gift to a person. So he offers a kind of, he makes a long statement, preaching there, but Shylock was not ready to budge. So finally she says, okay, then you can do as written in the bond. So at this time Shylock says, Daniel has come to judgment. So because Daniel was a great judge and who would always do whatever as per the law and who would make a wise judgment. So he addresses Portia as Daniel, and he sharpens his knife and goes to take the pound of flesh. But then Portia rereads the bond, and then there comes what she just stops Shylock, saying that you should arrange some surgeon at least, so that when he bleeds he should be healed and cured and he won't die of bleeding. But then he said that that's not written in the bond, so why should I call a surgeon? I should go by the bond itself. So at this, finally Portia then tells him, okay, you can have what is there in the bond, but then you should not have anything less or more than 1 pound, exactly what is written in the bond. Moreover, you should not shed even a drop of blood, because that too is not mentioned in the bond. So now Shylock understood that he was all lost and he had no other choice except to accept or take whatever is in the bond. But Portia says, no, you will have only what you have in the bond, so you can get only 1 pound flesh. he at that time actually demanded that, as Bassanio had already said, that he would give him double the amount, but then he refused even for that. He was not given even the principal amount, and finally Duke, when made the judgment, he said that all his money would be taken away from him. Half of the money would go to Antonio, half of the money would go to his daughter Jessica, and he would have to convert himself to Christianism if he wanted to live there safely and all, to escape any other harsh punishment. And why this punishment was given to him, it was on the basis, she argued, Portia argued actually, that it was an attempt to kill Antonio, so and that is really offensive, and so he should be given that punishment. So this was done to Shylock. So here we had ring episode, this was the trial scene as well, and now we have ring episode. So after all this judgment, Bassanio wants to offer what is due to that Shylock, 3000 ducats, but Portia refuses to take money. She says that I don't want any money. So you want to give me something, because they actually forces them to take something from them as a token of because they were grateful to them. So as a token of their gratefulness and their thankfulness, they wanted to give something to them. So wanted her to accept something. So she said, okay, if you really want to give me something, give me the ring. Now what is the problem actually? So when Bassanio has won Portia, and their Graciano too had won Narisa, so they both of them gave a ring to these two people, Bassanio and Graciano, and they were told that they won't part with the ring whatever may come. That is the sign of their love, that is the bond between them. So if the ring is lost, it means they don't love them, everything is lost, they would consider so. So that was what they had been told. So now Portia was actually testing Bassanio, that whether he gives that over to her or not. So he refuses. He says that you can ask anything, because this is given to me by my beloved and wife, so you can ask anything else, but this cannot be given to you. So he says it means you don't want to give anything, actually you are simply making a show, and you are not sincere about offering anything. So we don't want anything, we are just leaving. So saying that, they leave the place, and Bassanio, and when Antonio actually forces Bassanio that you should actually they have really done a good job and they have served me, so you should give this ring over to them. And finally they were searched after they had left, and they were given those rings. Okay, so Portia and Narisa now leaves Venice, and here Bassanio and Antonio go with Shylock to undo the bond, to get the bond done say properly, and all that was to be revoked. So okay, here they come back to Belmont, and they were welcomed very warmly by Graciano and Jessica. Music was played, and it was now the fifth act is quite a romantic one. Graciano and Lorenzo and Jessica, they were like in love and talking those indulging in love, actually I should say, or say they actually expressing their love to each other. There are some Greek references as well, and this is quite a light scene, a light atmosphere. All are quite happy, they were welcomed warmly. Portia and Narisa come first, and later Bassanio and Antonio come. And there actually when they come, they too were welcomed, and first Narisa notices that Graciano doesn't have the ring, and she blames Graciano about that, and she start quarreling with Graciano. So at that point Portia comes there and she says that Bassanio cannot do that, and he is quite a faithful husband and he won't do that. At that time she noticed that Bassanio also doesn't have the ring, so she blames Bassanio as well and she quarrels with Bassanio. And at that point Antonio comes in and he says that what actually had happened, that it was for his sake, to his, because they had saved his life, so that's why he had forced Bassanio to give that ring over to the lawyer. And later on then, okay, she agrees, she understands that, and she then gives a ring to Bassanio and then says, okay, now I'm giving this ring to you, and now promise me you won't lose this ring. Bassanio at once recognizes the ring, and then the whole matter discloses that it were actually Portia and Narisa who had come in the guise of the lawyer and the clerk and saved Antonio. So there was an atmosphere of mirth and laughter, and at that time Portia discloses one more good news, that three of Antonio's ships have returned with all the things, and so he won't have to be sorry for the loss of his ships and things. So it was full of happiness. The last act, Shylock's role ends in the fourth act. In the fifth act, it's all merry, it's all full of laughter. So the role of Narisa here is not just limited to a servant, it is more of a companion, and through Narisa we comes to know more about Portia as a witty person, as a having a good sense of humor, as an intelligent personality who is not at all say after money and riches. Rather, she is a lady of gentle heart and good heart. Even after when their marriage was going to happen, when she comes to know about Antonio, she at once asked Bassanio to leave Belmont and go to Venice and help his friend, and they could marry later. Here later Graciano and Narisa, they too sought permission from their lords and their friends, and to allow them to marry, as well as now Bassanio could marry Portia, so he wanted to marry Narisa. The role of Lancelot Gobbo was to tell us more about Shylock and more about Jessica, and the role of Tubal that I didn't mention so far. So Tubal is Shylock's friend, and Tubal actually brings him the news of Jessica and Antonio's ships. So he tells Shylock that actually Jessica had spent 80 ducats in just one night, and hearing this, Shylock was really quite, he felt all heartbroken that all his hard-earned money was now being wasted by his daughter. And then he tells him about Antonio, that his ships had floundered in the sea and he had lost everything, so he becomes quite happy. And then the very next moment he tells that he had exchanged his ring for a monkey, the ring which was given to him by his wife, the turquoise ring. So that was given by his daughter in exchange of a monkey. So Shylock was very sorry that what his daughter was doing, she was just wasting his hard-earned money, and he was very upset about that. So that is the role of Tubal. We come to know here that how he loved his wife. He was a sentimental person, but his greed actually had drained all his sentimentality and all his kind-heartedness and made him quite a hard-hearted person. Moreover, the treatment of the Christians to him had also made him an inhuman or a very cruel sort of person. So this is the role of the minor characters. So through these minor characters we come to know more about the other important and major characters. So this is how the whole play ends at finally. So I mentioned all the characters in this play. I mentioned about different episodes, the opening scene, the bond story, the casket story, the trial scene, the ring episode. These are 4 important episodes in this play. And one more important thing that I should tell you, that when the trial scene is going on and the judgment goes against Shylock. Shylock says that I am a man more sinned against sinning. One of the very famous lines from this play, that whatever he has done, actually he was done more wrong as per or more than whatever he has done to others. So that's what we have from this play again. So these are the things which were worth mentioning in this play, and I have discussed each and everything in this play I think in detail, and you get to know now each and every minute details, even about Lancelot Govo and Old Govo. I've told you how it is, how they make fun and make the atmosphere light. Graciano too, and he also works to lighten the atmosphere. So these are the things. I have added some objective questions at the end of this video, so they will also be helpful to you to answer some objective questions asked in some competitive exams. So don't forget to go through them as well. So I'll come up with more such videos, and till then keep watching and just be in touch. So thank you and bye bye.